Siri. I'm looking for a new podcast, one that preferably is hosted by a UF Hall of Famer, one that airs every weekday that would bring me everything I need to know about the Florida Gators, including news, analysis, and opinions. Siri, is there such a show?
Have you heard of PodUp with Matthews in the morning on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, or any podcast platform?
Oh my gosh, why didn't I think of that? UF Hall of Famer Shane Matthews has a show every weekday. I'm gonna go check it out tomorrow. Thanks, Siri.
Good morning, and you're looking live at a live edition of PodUp with Matthews in the morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Got a good show lined up today. We'll have JC here in just a second. Then we'll have Todd Ellis, the voice of the South Carolina Gamecocks, who also played quarterback for them back in the day. He'll join the program. We'll get the thoughts of what's going on up in Columbia, South Carolina. If you missed it last night, the Astros blast the Twins to take a 2-1 lead. I think they play again today. And then the Texas Rangers. The Rangers are having such a great year because I went to opening day for the Rangers in their ballpark, but they blasted the baseball in their little indoor mall that they play in. And so that series is over. And then the Braves and Phillies resume, I believe, today. JC, now that you're on the Diamondbacks bandwagon, Randy Johnson does not play for them. Can you name one player that plays for their Diamondbacks?
Can I name one player that plays for the Diamondbacks?
Who's their manager, JC?
Yeah, Lavulo.
I don't know the answer to that, but you can't name one player, and you're wearing their hat. I can't name a player either.
All I'm saying is they're beating those god-awful atheist-loving L.A. Dodgers, so I'm happy about it, and I want to see them play for the National League pennant, and I'm really excited for those Texas Rangers, man. My daughter-in-law, she loves her some Texas Rangers, lives in Dallas, goes to the games, gets the great seats. It's a great atmosphere in Texas, as you know. Also, QB, before we get started, I want to give a shout out to two guys I met in Biloxi, Mississippi the past weekend, Skip Cox and TJ. Skip is from Kansas City, ex-retired police officer, watches the show, loves our program, loves the Kansas City Chiefs. So, more we mention the Chiefs and their wonderful quarterback, Patrick Mahomes, I think the more we make Skip happy. And TJ is from Tampa, financial advisor at Morgan Stanley. Great guys. Loved them. Hope they won last weekend. A couple quick things, QB, before we get going here. Gotta love Mark Stoops. After getting skull dragged 51-13, he now goes on his radio show and tells everybody to please feel free to donate more money so they can buy better players, because that's exactly what Georgia's doing. And I think that comes a little disingenuous from a guy making $8.6 million a year. So, I'm sure he could write a check as well and give it to his kid and let his kid go pay a kid to go play for the Kentucky Wildcats. $8.6 million, dude. And he's out there asking people to pay. I looked up flights from Gainesville to Lexington this morning just so I could maybe go to the Alabama game. How about $900 round trip out of Gainesville? And they're asking us to go buy players for them while they're sitting back in their 17,000 square foot houses on the mountain or at the beach making $8.6 million.
JC,
to buy players for them. That's such
flying anywhere out of Gainesville is going to cost you $700 or $800.
Okay, I looked at Daytona Beach, Jacksonville, and Orlando, and I'm thinking, do I really want to spend this kind of money? Because the ticket's going to be a couple $100 as well. And I'm just thinking to myself, these people have lost their minds. They're so out of touch. But anyway, that's what Mark Stoops is thinking about right now, is getting somebody to pay for more players to come to Kentucky so he has a chance to maybe game plan and beat the Georgia Bulldogs. Nobody was excited by that. We talked about it with what Georgia did to Kentucky. And then my guy, your favorite quarterback, who you weren't that high on, but plays at Alabama. How about 6 20-yard completions versus Texas A&M? 6 20-yard plus completions.
How about you're the one, if you want to roll the tape, said we do not need to play him ever again.
I did not ever say
bull
that.
Crap.
No.
We got to get rid of him.
No. I didn't say we have to get rid of him. I said I didn't know he was going to be the answer until I found out the next week with USF what we had. And then I immediately backtracked and said he's our only chance. By the way, 9.7 yards per attempt.
Well, he's a low percentage guy. See, what people don't understand, JC, I explained this to somebody the other day. When I was coaching football, and when your starter gets hurt or whatever, and the backup comes in, what do most coaches do? Turn around, hand the ball off with their backup in the game. See, I don't think that way, because everybody in the world thinks you're not going to let the backup quarterback throw the football, right? So what did I do anytime I had an injury? The first 2 plays we threw deep, because throwing deep is the safest thing you can possibly do.
And this kid does it well.
Anybody that thinks, if it's safer to throw hitches and slants, no, because you have to be extremely accurate, and it has to happen like that. And there's too much bad stuff that can happen. You throw the ball deep, there's no thinking. You come back, you just look the safety off or whatever you're taught to do and just launch it.
Okay.
There's nothing bad that can happen.
We've already gone through this with your quarterback academy. The bottom line is Jalen Milroe has to use his legs to be effective, but he also somehow throws a great long ball. And like Graham Mertz, is getting better and better in the offense that they're running for him. 620+ yard completions against Texas A&M and almost 10 yards per attempt. That's awesome. The guy throws a good long ball.
Can I ask this? Because I didn't get to see
the guy that you
game.
called TJ Yeldon is lighting it up with the long ball.
TJ Yeldon. There's 50 other quarterbacks I take before him. Nothing against him. But let me ask you this. Out of those 20, how many of them carried in the air past 20 yards? I'm just asking.
I saw a lot of nice completions to Jermaine Burton that were well.
The reason I'm asking is because I didn't watch the game, but there's perfectly legal that you hit a shallow cross for 5 yards and he runs 40 yards.
No. This guy's throwing the ball down the field. And
but that counts, JC. That counts as the 20.
That's fine. But this guy is getting it done. At least he did against Texas A&M in a 100,000 fan environment. And by the way, Gator fans, I'm going to save you a lot of trouble right now. I know that they're playing South Carolina. I understand that this is the most important game of Billy's career. I understand that they haven't won a road game in 3 years. I get it. They have to beat South Carolina. But here's the bottom line, folks. If they go horizontal, if they go like this instead of like this, you might as well stay home for the game in Jacksonville, because it'll be 40-0 at halftime, and half the stadium will be empty because you cannot.
I'll bet it won't be 40-0. You want to wager on that?
It'll be 28-0, and they'll be killing Florida unless Florida learns how to go down the field with the aerial attack. That's the only way you're going to beat the Georgia Bulldogs. This crap about going sideways and all this and all that, running the ball, 8-man front, all that has no chance of working against Georgia. And I know it's South Carolina week. I'm fine with that. But I really don't care. It's the Georgia game that's going to determine this year's SEC.
Well, if you don't beat South Carolina, who gives a damn about Georgia?
Well, I get it, but they have to beat South Carolina. We're not even going to worry about the Georgia game.
You just said you don't care about it.
I don't care. I don't care if the Gators. I mean, they're going to win the game, right? They're supposed to win this game, even though they're
underdogs.
I know. But you've got them winning 8 games. I mean, since June.
Baron71 on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing, says, I think Russ Callaway will be the official OC next year. He may be getting some input.
You already got an OC hired. You already hired an OC, and you told me 3 weeks ago they had no intention of hiring an OC because that was what Billy does. And now you're hiring an OC?
I'm reading what the damn listeners are saying,
You talked about it all day with Buddy Martin yesterday. Who's going to be our OC? Who is?
And what did I say? What did I say?
You said, "Well, I don't really think."
I said there is no OC this year, and I don't give a damn because Buddy must have been drinking wine or something yesterday morning because he's like, "That's your job." Go. I don't talk to the coaches. They're not making a change in the middle of the year, and I don't care.
Well, you gotta get these fans off the OC thing. All right, just get them off that. Billy's got.
Baron wants to know: did I grow up an Ole Miss fan, Mississippi State, or another? I'm a diehard Ole Miss fan. Scott says JC's fired up today, but he's making no sense. It's what he's saying.
Hey, tell me what I'm missing. What am I missing?
Well, first of all, you said that I said that we need to hire an OC, which I never said yesterday.
I said you guys talked about offensive coordinators
because Buddy was on that. I didn't want to talk about it because we're wasting daylight talking about it.
All right, good, because that's my point. Is that you are not making any.
Tony says on Facebook Live he says I also thought Buddy was under the influence. Haha. All right, text on the I did
Buddy.
Tighten them our text line. Daniel in Jacksonville says, "Good morning. I wanted to share this pic of my true surprise to the comments this morning on the Orioles Facebook page. They were swept and it wasn't even close from the playoffs by Texas. Yet the fan base is positive and hopeful for next year. I just hope we as Gator fans can get behind this kind of support for our team. And it talks about, we loved our team, great year, all that kind of stuff. So, all right, another text on the Titan MR text line. I got Doring texting me. Chris from Cottondale.
Oh, there's
dang man, JC has went negative, real negative. See, Chris even from Cottondale says JC's gone very negative. Who pissed in his Wheaties this morning?
No, I'm just trying to make people realize don't take the hallucinogens this time. All right. If you can't beat South Carolina and you don't go down the field with
JC,
football, I don't care what you're going to do.
You're not bringing up anything new. Everybody has talked about.
I'm just reminding everybody that they better start throwing the ball down the field. They didn't do it against Charlotte. They didn't do it against Tennessee. They need to do it against South Carolina.
Yeah, Kevin says you're an diehard Ole Miss. Yes, my dad was a player at Ole Miss. My mom was a cheerleader there. I grew up going to every Ole Miss game. So yeah, I'm a diehard Ole Miss fan. Is there anything wrong with that? No. Buck says on YouTube, we got to have better receivers and a better pass blocking line to throw the ball down the field. Yeah. It's coming, but we aren't there yet, obviously. Again, we have really good receivers, in my opinion. We have a really good quarterback, in my opinion. You have to throw the ball a minimum down the field 10 times a game. If you hit 3 of them, you have a hell of a day. Just keep that in mind.
You're making my point. How about this lineup? You may have said it already. I don't know. But I want Wilson. I want Pearsall. I want either Gene or the other kid. What's his name? Can't remember. And Bordyheim. That's what I want. And I don't care.
Well, you've obviously been listening to me.
Is that what you said? I like Wilson.
No, there's 3 receivers that need to play and nobody else, unless they're hurt.
Okay,
it's Eugene Wilson, Andy Jean, and Ricky Pearsall. Nobody else needs to touch the field.
Okay,
nobody.
Okay, who's the other guy? Who's the other guy?
That's the 3 wide receivers.
Damn. Yeah, there's another one too. But go ahead. And when Douglas gets healthy, if he ever does, I want him in there too. A lot.
No, I don't. He's hurt. I want those 3 guys until they can't run anymore. J&J Truckee says there's nothing wrong with the players at this point. It's coaching. They run the plays he's called. Well, they do. You have to run the plays that are called.
He better call some better plays. More aggressive, more downfield.
Well, that ain't gonna happen.
Getting the ball out of the quarterback. Well, then you can forget it then. I don't care if they beat South Carolina 13-10. It doesn't matter. You're going to get blown out in Jacksonville.
Well, you're going to get blown out by Georgia and Atlanta, so it doesn't matter. There.
Yeah. Okay. I tend to disagree with that, but go ahead.
Yeah. Bucknell said, "Where's Frazier's been? He plays sparingly. He's not better. He's not better than those 3 guys I mentioned. You play your best players. Do not rotate. Do not change them unless 2 guys run 2 deep routes and they're gassed. They need a break. Get 1 guy in there and then take them and get them back out of the game.
Yeah.
Play your best players the entire game. All right.
Yeah. So let me ask you: if Graham Mertz throws for 267 yards and Florida wins the game 17-13, you gonna be excited about that?
Hey, look, it's hard to win games. I'm excited anytime you win a game.
Yeah, that's not. Look
here, JC. Look, here's the thing.
That's not the 1990s.
JC, I've told you a million times on this program. Yeah. You cannot control what happens in politics. You cannot control what Nick Saban does. You cannot control what Billy Napier does.
Hey,
you can't control what Kirby Smart does.
Listen, I'm on a talk show. I don't have a hotline into these guys' office, but I'm just telling you what I think, okay? I think that's the idea of what we're doing every morning. And I'm telling you, if they win 17-13 and this guy throws for under 300 yards, just save your time and don't bother in Jacksonville. Just stay home.
That doesn't matter. This has nothing to do with look, does anybody in the world think we can beat the Georgia Bulldogs? Do you think Alabama can beat Georgia?
Then why don't we just stay home? Why should we bother with?
Well, I don't think Alabama can beat Georgia. I don't think they'd stand a chance.
You didn't think they could beat Texas A&M either. Neither you or Doring, the great 90s Gators. You guys can't stand it. You can't stand it. But
if I'm not mistaken, I don't think you felt real confident that y'all would win the game.
They beat it with your guy, TJ, playing quarterback who threw for 300 yards. and he threw it downfield. My point is, get the ball down the field. Why is this so aggravating to you? Just agree with me, and then we'll be right.
I have no, that we're talking. You're talking two different points here. The point is, 2 shows ago, you were down on Alabama. Now because your running back completed some balls down the field, it doesn't matter. We're not talking about Alabama.
No, we are going back to, because I took Texas. I did not take Texas A&M. I took Alabama.
That has nothing to do with we're not talking about the point spread, JC. We're not talking about any of that.
Pick 'em game in.
As everyone says on here, what did you drink today?
I'm drinking the same crap I drink in the morning every day.
Maybe you need to take that dumbass hat off then, because you're contradicting everything you said 2 weeks ago.
No, okay. You just making stuff up, and you didn't think you had.
J&J has a question for you, JC. Would you?
You got amnesia.
Would you take? Would you get? What does it say? Resign Dak at the end of his contract, or let him go? I don't think Dak Prescott's a legitimate NFL quarterback, but that's me.
He's hurting, man. We talked about this Monday. A guy misses calls at the line of scrimmage, and he misses passes down the field. That's not how you win in the NFL. You know, Brock Purdy's probably the most accurate guy I've seen this side of Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady here lately. And it's incredible what he's done in his first 8 games as a starter. Better than Patrick Mahomes, statistically.
Yeah.
So
Joseph says QB said if we threw it 30 times against Kentucky, we'd win the game. I did say that, and I still believe it. Mertz went 25 or 30 for 244, 8.1 yards per completion, got to stretch the field. I agree. However, he's throwing for more yards per attempt than Joe Milton is and Bo Nix. So anyway,
Graham Mertz doesn't play defense, and that's what happened in the Kentucky game.
Well, that and we did not execute very well. We had some great calls.
Blocked, he got moved, he got exploded up front, he got killed up front. We saw what happened.
Well, I went back and watched that game, and boy, Austin Armstrong called a good game. Our guys just did not execute. So, anyway, let me see what came in on the Titan our text line.
That was awful.
This is from I don't know who it's from. It says Billy gets a pass this year. Let him do it his way. If we don't have a lot of success by year 4, then we get rid of him. But until then, he builds it his way. As much as we hate the offensive philosophy. Look, again,
they do hate it. They hate it.
Everybody does. But the problem is, again, I go back to the 24-year period, roughly, of good football, excellent football. The other 101 years or whatever it is, it's about what it was now, from what I've been told by multiple people that have watched Gator football their whole life. So, as some people say, certain people are elite coaches and some people aren't. You don't become an elite coach. You either have it or you don't.
Well, like
for example,
Thompson said,
you
don't pay a guy who don't have it $7.5 million.
JC, there's a list of 12 to 15 coaches making $7 to $9 million that don't have it. My point to you is, Alabama has had a run in the history of their school under Bear Bryant, Nick Saban. Give Gene Stallings a few years.
Yeah.
Other than that, there's been nobody. JC, you have to admit that. Would you admit that?
Sure. I mean, when I was there, they were god awful.
Okay. My point is, it takes the elite coaches. They don't just fall off trees, people. They don't just fall off trees.
The people are tired of the misfiring of hires. Okay.
So my question to you is, how do you know if you're going to hire an elite coach who's going to make a difference? How do you know?
Well, you're looking at his resume. You're looking at his track record. You're looking at his philosophy. You're looking at
Gene Stallings, Mike Dubose. Those guys pan out?
Well, Mike Dubose did not. No. Gene Stallings did okay.
They looked at his resume. They thought he was going to be a great coach. The point of the story is, I think people take things for granted that what Steve Spurrier and Urban Meyer did at this school. Just like people took for granted what Bear Bryant and Nick Saban are doing.
Right. Well, but the thing is that you just sound like you're making excuses for a guy.
I'm not making excuses. I'm giving facts.
Well, sure. I mean, I get it, but Billy Napier has a winning record. He's a good coach. He had a good record.
He's a good coach, but he may not be an elite coach. Kirby's an elite coach. Mark Stoops is a good coach. Lane is a good coach. They're not elite, though.
No. I look, the Gator fans want to see something better than 6-6. That's all.
I agree with that, but my point is if when you were growing up here, if you went 6-6 or 7-5, it was a hell of a year. Yes or no?
No, that's what happened.
Okay. When the damn guy from Duke came here, he screwed everybody's mentality up.
Well, the damn guy from Duke gave you a job. Otherwise, we wouldn't be sitting here right now.
Right.
But I think.
But if the dude from Duke doesn't give me a job, he may not be the guy that y'all think he is.
Well, I mean, he did it at Duke. He was going to do it somewhere. Fortunately for Florida fans, he came home, right? But then he left to go to South Carolina, had a good run there, almost won an SEC. I get it. I understand all this. But, Brent Venables is in year 2. He went 6-7
but he went 6-7 last year. He's got his quarterback. You got to remember, Dylan Gabriel was out majority of last year.
Well, that's true, but that defense was god awful. And by the way, Billy's got his quarterback too. So,
but he's not letting him play. But he's playing Billy's way. He's not letting him play the way. Buck says the fact that Billy said he's changing the routine this week says he's still adjusting to big time. No, I disagree with that. Everybody's trying to figure out why we can't win on the road, so you change your routine. But we have the same exact routine that the Georgia Bulldogs do, that the Clemson team does, the Alabama teams does. We're just not winning on the road. I don't know the answer to that.
Well, I just gave a suggestion. Whether you care or not, the suggestion is be more aggressive with the offense. Much more.
I've been saying that for freaking ever, JC. It's not like you just came up with some damn philosophy.
No, but keep saying it because you keep defending the way these fans are screaming and hollering, and you're yelling at them. Why are you yelling?
I'm not yelling at them. I'm just giving facts. I like to give facts. Okay. I give opinions, but I try to back it up with facts.
Well, we know what the facts are. We see it with our eyes. What we're saying is let's change that up if you want to win in South Carolina and in Missouri.
Okay, so let me ask you this. Let's just say shit hit the fan and you're in charge of hiring a football coach at Florida.
Okay.
Who would it be?
Well, that's a fair question. Hey, that's a fair question.
You want somebody that's going to make a difference and win. There's 2 coaches that you got to go get. You go get Nick Saban or you go get Kirby Smart.
No, not at all. I don't think I'm going to go hire a 72-year-old coach. No,
well, I'm just telling you the facts are there that he wins. There's a lot of people out there that don't win.
He's been doing it since 2008, but Florida hasn't won an SEC since 2008. Okay, that's all. Just right.
Who was that coach?
That coach was Urban Meyer.
Okay, so my point to you is. Every SEC championship, every SEC championship, and every national championship that the Mighty Gators have won, there's 2 people responsible.
Right.
Okay, that's my point. If it was that damn easy, that damn easy. Doesn't matter who you hire, you would be winning everywhere in America.
I didn't say we're firing Billy Napier tomorrow. I didn't say that at all. I'm just simply saying what I'd like to see to hopefully enable better success, specifically on the road, and especially in 2 weeks if they have a chance in hell and make it worth our effort to go and support them, then do something a little different than maybe what you've been doing. Now, maybe he's going to break out something, but maybe he's not. And I can tell you that if you keep doing the same thing, you're going to get the same result, QB.
Well, that's his philosophy. It's just like it's no different than your politicians. They have their philosophy. They stick to it. Sports is very similar to politics, in my opinion.
The funny thing is when Kevin Sumlin and Johnny Manziel beat Nick Saban, he saw something that he had to start doing. He changed his offense. He got Lane Kiffin in there. He changed the way they do things. Blake Sims set a record at the school for passing, for God's sake.
Okay, once again,
they didn't do that before the.
Once again, you are talking about the greatest football coach in the history of the game.
Once again, I'm talking about somebody who is, like many other great coaches, changes if he has to, adapts and evolves into something that he may not.
And again, I'm just trying to tell you again, this guy worked for that guy.
Well, he better.
JB says if Kerwin wins the FCS national title, he should get a hard look. Kerwin, look, here's the deal. Kerwin's one of my closest friends. We've talked about this for freaking 25 years. Kerwin has run every program and done a tremendous job everywhere he's been. He won a national title at Valdosta State, took a job as the OC for Charlie Strong. He says it was the worst decision of his life, the worst year of his life. He had the worst players he's ever had because he wasn't in charge of recruiting who he wanted. He's taken over Western Carolina. They're in the top 10. They're one of 3 schools in America, in all of America, JC. Listen to this.
I'm listening.
that averages 300 passing, 200 yards rushing. The other two schools besides Western Carolina, LSU and Oregon.
Yeah, pretty good.
So my point is, though, he's not going to come here to be the OC because he's not going to work for anybody else.
No. I understand. But in 2011, there was one guy on local radio in the morning, 105 the game. You were there with me. And I don't know how many times I begged Jeremy Foley to call Kerwin Bell. How many? And then you say, well, he doesn't have the experience. That was such a load of crap. This guy knows football. He knows offense. He knows how to call plays.
I'm like I said, he's one of my best friends. He's one of my best friends, and he's one of the best coaches I've ever been around. He's as close to Coach Spurrier you'll ever find.
Yeah.
He ain't coming here unless he's the head coach, and that ain't happening.
It's too bad. Because if you want to go 6-6, don't call him.
Yeah, so J&J Trucking says, we have better players in Kentucky. We have better players than teams we losing to, and we don't see progress at all. Have to show progress. Billy knows he can't win with these players. He won't. I don't know what any of that. None of that made sense to me.
No, I mean, to get to 8 wins, you're going to need to win this game. You're going to need to win Missouri. You're going to need to win Arkansas.
And Florida State. Like Florida State, I looked at Florida State again. Boy, statistically, and stats are misleading, but their stats are not what you think. Pull up. They play Syracuse, JC. I want you to pull up the stats from Syracuse and Florida State and see if there's a big difference in those two football teams. I wouldn't count Florida State as a win here. I'm telling you, I don't think they're that great. But
you mean you wouldn't count Florida State to win here?
Correct.
Right.
They struggled against a horrible Boston College team. They struggled last week against a more than horrible Virginia Tech team. But they're just walking through.
They have 2 wins that I don't think the Gators can even imagine at this point now.
Let me ask you this, though. Do you think that LSU win is great?
Well, I'll tell you this. If they hadn't won that game, it would have been a lot worse.
But you didn't answer my question.
Okay. Is it great? Like, meaning, is this LSU team one of the better teams in the country? I think they're a good team. They're not a great team, no.
I think they're very good on offense, and I think they're one of the worst defenses in the country.
Maybe, but they still have guys like Harold Perkins and a bunch of athletes out there. And listen, Florida's going to go there. You'll see. But they won at Clemson, and I know statistically they may not have had the better numbers, but they had the only number that mattered. It was on the scoreboard. And they had 2 wide receivers that Clemson couldn't cover. So that I do know. And if that's the case, and by the way, listen, Clemson, pretty good team, but still a team with 2 losses and could have another one. And speaking of the ACC, since you brought it up, do you realize that Louisville does not play North Carolina, does not play Florida State?
They're going to win the ACC.
They don't play Clemson either. They only have to play at Miami, and something like 4 out of their last 5 games are at home in Louisville. So keep your eye on them, even though they have a very simple schedule.
I've been pounding the Jeff Brom bandwagon for 10, 15 years.
You were telling me that guy Satterfield was a good coach. I laughed in your face. But yeah, Brom's pretty good, but he's better than Satterfield.
I've always, when you can ask anybody, I wanted Jeff Brom here before they hired Jim McElwain.
Yeah, I get it. The guy can draw up offense. He's smart. He's good. He won at Purdue. And the bottom line is they've got 4 out of their last 5 games at home. If they can win at Miami, they will be in the ACC championship game, and they'll play probably Florida State or North Carolina.
Yeah, Andy says Louisville got Duke, who lost their QB. I don't think they're playing. I don't think Louisville even plays Duke.
That is, I think, but I think they play them at home. I think he's right.
Duke's quarterback, he may
with
play
Riley
this
Leonard,
week, I heard.
Yeah, if Riley Leonard doesn't play, it's not the same Duke team, even though they do have a very stout defense. And you're right. Duke is still in the way. They are on the schedule, but the game is in Louisville. So that gives them an advantage. And you saw the way they pushed around Notre Dame. I mean, I don't know how Notre Dame played that 3rd game like that, after going through what they did with Ohio State and then again with Duke, and they had to show up to Louisville. The schedule maker didn't do them any favors. But who thought Louisville would be 6-0? And here they are. They're playing at Pittsburgh. They're playing Duke at home on the 28th of October, and they're playing at Miami on the 18th of November. Those are probably the 2 toughest games left on their schedule. They don't play Clemson, North Carolina, or FSU until the championship. And they're going to play one of those 3, probably FSU. But Maybe North Carolina.
Again, I'm not trying to get rid of. I like Billy Napier. If Billy would just throw 10 balls down the field and let this quarterback go play with these wideouts, this team could be lethal.
Please,
lethal.
Yes, absolutely. Please do that against South Carolina, so I can see if it's possible. I mean, God, if they don't if it's 17-13 and they win or lose, just forget it. Just forget it. Season.
Well, I'd rather win 17-13 than lose 17-13.
I hear you. I mean, I agree with that. Of course, we want to win, but man, I just want to set them up for a good run at the end of the season, and I just don't see it right now offensively. I don't, but maybe I'll see it this last few games. Who knows? They got a week off before Georgia anyway.
Where would you think the Gators rank in the SEC in passing, JC?
I'd say out of the 14 teams, they're fifth.
Because you looked good.
No, guess. I didn't. I just guessed.
They're fifth. But think about that. Think about that. As much as we're sitting here bitching and complaining, they're fifth in the league in passing.
I understand. He is very, very good completing these short passes. I agree.
Andy says, does Brian Brom, the OC, Jeff's brother, get any credit for their success? Absolutely not. Jeff called the plays.
Well, I mean, nepotism is real in college football. Just ask Iowa fans about that.
All right, hang on. Kyle says, y'all do realize Napier doesn't throw the ball. I've been to the games. Wideouts are running down the field. Mertz isn't making the reads. Kyle, I don't know what game you're looking at. I sit there on the 50-yard line. I watch the tape. Mertz has played phenomenal. Here's what people – this is what drives me crazy. And, Kyle, I respect your opinion, but I disagree with it totally. A, you can sit there and say, man, that guy's running wide open down there. Okay, A, he could have run the wrong route. B, he may not even be part of the read. C, we don't know what the quarterback's been taught. Okay, so all these people, and I say it every day on this show, that sit behind this clicker and keep rewinding it on these YouTubes and stuff going, well, he should do this, he should do that. You don't know what the hell he's being taught. First of all, you don't know what the scheme is. You know, so you can't, as much football as I've been around, I wouldn't be able to just take a play from Billy Napier or even Nick Saban or whoever and say he should be doing this, he should be doing that, because I don't know what they're telling him to do in the meeting room. So, as I said, Graham Mertz is a really good quarterback. And I don't give a damn if he hasn't completed a pass down the field. That's not his fault. You have to throw a minimum of 7 to 10 balls down the field to hit some. Just because he missed the inside fade to Ricky Pearsall does not mean he can't throw the ball down the field. That's the most ludicrous thing I've ever heard. He just barely overshot him. I want to say Ricky was limping 2 plays before that. So maybe it was Ricky's fault. But you have to continue here's what I'm hoping for in South Carolina, JC. We've lost every coin toss this year, I believe. So we've pretty much received. Yeah. I want us to throw the ball the first 3 plays of the game. I don't care if it's sideways, over their heads, out of bounds. I don't give a damn. Mm-hmm. Throw it 3, and if we have to punt, I'm fine with it. But that way, we need to let this guy go play. Because the quarterback is extremely good. Nobody wants to admit it because of they say he's dinking and dunking. That's not his fault, people.
Right. Well, I'm not blaming Graham. I've been yelling about the head coach here, the $7.5 million guy. Okay, that's who I'm yelling about. Edgar Thompson is absolutely right. 100%.
Well, again, that is Billy's philosophy. He wants to run the football. You can't change people's philosophies usually.
Well, then just plan on seeing the same crap and getting the same result. Because if he's not willing to change, if he's not willing to evolve, then he's not going to be around long.
All right, we got to get to the voice of the Gamecocks, Todd Ellis. Have a good day,
Todd Ellis. All right.
We're going to take a quick timeout. We come back. We'll be joined by former Gamecock quarterback and the voice of the Gamecocks, Todd Ellis. You're watching and listening to PodUp with Matthews in the Morning. We want to take this moment to thank our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our premium sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, the only official injury and accident law attorneys of the Florida Gators. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. QC Kinetics, live pain-free with QC Kinetics. Campus USA, put some star power to work in your financial life with Campus USA Credit Union. Dave & Buster's, eat, drink, play, watch. Our gridiron sponsors are Auto ER, UF Bookstores, Silverback Concrete, Ruse Ogre State Farm Insurance, Radware, F45, Quality Plumbing. Our touchdown sponsors are Adams Ribs, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Okido America, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, Big Mills Cheesesteak, McDonald's of Gainesville, 84 Lumber, Dowling Signs, Baker's Sporting Goods, Silver Cube Billiards and Sports Bar. If you're interested in promoting your business on the show, call Freddie at 352-284-3733. If you like what we're doing here, make sure to follow us and support the businesses that support us.
Hi there, this is Coach Steve Spurrier, and I want to let you know that by popular demand, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill's delicious brunch is now served in a premium buffet. You have spoken, we have listened, and we're now serving Gainesville's only elevated buffet, complete with an omelet station, ginger sage chicken sausage, shredded short rib, and of course our chicken and waffles. Plus, you can enjoy bottomless, mimosas, and Bloody Marys. So join us every Saturday and Sunday from 11 to 3 for the best brunch in town.
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Silverback Concrete's a family-led team of heavy concrete specialists that build commercial structure with unrivaled quality. Silverback Concrete, you stand on it, we stand by it. Going to go to the Titan & More hotline now. We're joined by the voice of the South Carolina Gamecocks, the old-time quarterback, Todd Ellis. Good morning, Todd. How you doing, buddy?
Shane, I'm well. Mid-season form, I hope. Hope the Gamecocks are as well as the Gators come to town this weekend.
Yeah, it's a big game for both programs. Obviously, South Carolina's coming off a bye week. I believe they sit at 2-3. Just talk about how the season, in your opinion, has gone so far. Is it kind of what you expected? Or, I mean, obviously you want more wins, but what can you tell us about the season so far?
Well, you know, everybody had us at either 1, 2, or 3 in the toughest schedule in America, and no doubt, Sports Illustrated, I saw, ranked us the toughest September schedule in the country this year. We played 3 ranked teams, 2 on the road, 1 at a neutral site, lost those games, competed in almost every stage, and each of the phases of the game has played well at times for the Gamecocks, but just hadn't pulled it all together. I mean, other than really Spencer Rattler, who's been holding it all together, just playing outstanding football right now, as good as anybody I've seen at Carolina in a long time at the quarterback position. You know, we probably just didn't have enough of those teams. And, you know, the opener was a little bit surprised against North Carolina. They're a very good team, should be ranked in the top 25, but one that was a winnable ball game. And then, you know, Tennessee on the road, it doesn't take long if it gets out of hand for you there that it can roll to a 20-point win or something. So it's about like I thought it would go, Shane. It really is. It's not a bad football team at all. The early schedule, you know, we play 5 of the last 7 games at home. And we need to take advantage of that time. And you're right. That's what makes this such a pivotal ball game. I think both of these teams right now have got some unknowns and certainly played with some inconsistencies.
Yeah, when you talk about Spencer Rattler, obviously he was highly recruited coming out of high school, had a good little run at OU, and I mean, when I saw him play, the entire South Carolina team did not play well in the Swamp last year. I think you would agree with that. It was embarrassing. And then all of a sudden, they flipped the switch, beat Tennessee, destroyed Clemson, and he's played really well, as you said, up to that point. What do you think has changed to get him going ever since that game in the Swamp?
I think they did a couple things, Shane, and you'll appreciate this as a quarterback. You know, I think they finally asked him, "Hey, what do you like to run? What are you comfortable with? Let's narrow the plan down. Let's do what we do well, and you be comfortable with what we're calling out there." And he played so much looser. We also, you know, a bunch of people told him, "Listen, you know, since you were 8 years old, you've been making every play on the field and been counted on with the pressure of that. You got a really good kicking game here, pretty good defense that was playing that time of the year. You know, you don't have to make every play." And he tucked it down and used his very good legs at times made better decisions on his throws, didn't try to squeeze it into every window. And all of a sudden, that just built in his confidence. And then obviously everything clicked at home against Tennessee, where we scored 9 out of 10 drives last year. And he's been on a roll since then. I didn't check it after Tennessee. It wouldn't be far from that. But he was completing 90% of his passes in the first half of ball games this season and making every throw. I mean, not just completions, but Shane, you know the difference. Putting the ball in the exact spot to make the maximum of the play, maybe where it could only be caught by our folks and or where they could catch it and make a run there afterwards. I just haven't seen anybody play as good as he's been playing. And obviously we were last in the league in sacks. Now that's partly due because we can't run the football or have not been able to consistently run the football. And we're playing 2 freshman offensive linemen who are good players, really going to be really good players for us. But you know how that goes when you're shuffling an offensive line around and you're playing 2 freshmen there. It can get bad and get ugly if you get behind. And that's happened to Spencer some. But considering those factors, he is a threat in any ball game to anyone.
Yeah, I agree with that. So sticking with the offense, as you said, I think he's been sacked 22, 23 times this year. Is that due to, you said, the young play on the offensive line? And then, I've watched Spencer from afar. He's kind of that guy that wants to try to make a play and probably should maybe throw a ball away here or there. Is he holding on to it too long at times?
No, he's not. He's actually gotten much, much better about that. I think there was a little of that early on last year. He's running and sliding out, holding the ball, making throws before he gets to the line of scrimmage some. He is escaping. He's also just throwing the ball away when he can. But no, it's been really a big problem with us as we got behind on the chains. That to me now that's kind of turned into like the NFL. College football now is all about don't get behind on first and second down. And we've done that in games which have given up sacks where these tremendous athletes can come and pressure you when they know you're throwing the football. But it's also a great deal to do with the running game. We even when we've had success, Shane, I think was up, he's 14-2 when we've run the ball just for 100 yards. And that shows you how poor we've been when we've not won these ball games, not even rushing for 100 yards. And that has let teams change up what they do defensively. But it's not been Spencer's fault, really is not.
Talk about that wide receiver y'all have that's having a phenomenal year so far.
Xavier Legette. I mean, Shane is a great story. Just built himself into that. In the first 4 ball games, he had more production than he'd had in the previous 2 years. He'd always had the frame, 6'4", 200-plus pounds, maybe not in the best of shape in his career. Spent a lot of time this summer kind of resculpting it, getting more explosive. And he's got that Alshon Jeffrey, use the body to go up and get the ball and fight off defenders. But he's also showing an extra burst this year that it's been amazing. I think he gained confidence in the last couple of ball games last season. Had an excellent game against Notre Dame in the bowl game. Of course, a 100-yard kickoff return against Texas A&M, and was exceptional against Clemson. And then he just shined. We've been without our all-SEC wide receiver, Juice Wells, for the majority of the season. He's got a foot injury and is questionable again this week. I think is really doubtful. Probably he's not going to play in the ball game. And so everybody thought, oh, gosh, what we might have is some balance with those two. And but he's done it really all on his own in a lot of ways. Some injuries with some other players at that position. So he's playing as good as anybody in the league right now at that position, and is making the catches over the middle, catching the deep ball, the jump balls, the back shoulder stuff, everything that's out there, he's getting it right now.
Defensively, how do you think the defense has performed so far? I can't remember which game it was. I came home from one of our games, and South Carolina was playing, I believe it was a night game, and Shane was talking to the sideline reporter going into half, and his comments cracked me up because he's like, we can't cover anybody. They're just throwing it. Oh, it was the Mississippi State game. State threw for a ton of yards. Has the secondary gotten any better?
It's so young. We don't have anybody over sophomore playing in there right now. We got a great safety in Eman Worry, but he had a hamstring injury that's slowed him. A true freshman's been filling in for him and is second on the team in tackles, and Jalen Kilgore, another excellent player. Two great safeties, but just young. And then, of course, you lose Cam Smith like we did a year ago, another corner as well. You're going to have to make that up. And they've struggled. I don't think it's as much the passing game. I really don't. Clayton White, our defensive coordinator, is all about man coverage and play a bunch of guys in the box and stop the run. I think our problem's been we just hadn't consistently stopped the run, and I can tell you that's a huge factor in this ball game this weekend. If you ask me what needs to be done, it just needs to slow the Florida run game. We are tough to beat at Williams-Brice Stadium if you just slow the run game of the opponent. As you know, it's like all these venues. They're incredibly hard to communicate, make those plays if you're third and long, if you're behind. And I think, the Gators, when I've seen them be really good, they're rushing the football and doing some play action work. And I think that's the key with those two really good running backs. To me, it's been about not consistently stopping the run game. I mean, Mississippi State came in leading the league in rushing. It was early. Obviously, Coach Arnett's trying to change everything in that program. They're no longer the throw it every down and the crossing routes. And I think they just changed that week. They said, hey, we're going to let this guy, Will Rogers, who's a pretty dang good thrower, throw the football. And boy, they got one we can look forward to watching for a while. Tulu Griffin, their slot receiver who burned us multiple times, 250 yards of their 500 yards in total offense came from him. He's an exceptional player, and, we didn't have a really good matchup. We put a young safety on him to try to cover him in the slot, and that did not work out at all. So I don't think it's as much the secondary as it is that right now we're playing pretty good from the 20 in, just not in the middle of the field, and people have gained some pretty big yards on us.
Yeah, and you do know the Gators like to run the football. All right, let's talk special teams. Florida's been horrible on special teams all year with Shane Beamer's track record on special teams. How have they performed? And, it wouldn't shock me if we see a fake punt or something run by the Gamecocks this week.
No, it should not shock you, and I'm sure it won't shock the Gator staff to be prepared for it. But they've been really good at the fakes again, the pressures, the return game, and Kai Kroger is our punter and Mitch Jeter is our kicker, are exceptional guys. I know Shane rarely goes into a ball game where he and Coach Limbo do not have something special on several things: fake field goals, onside kicks, fake punts. And, Kai Kroger's got he's got a completion percentage you and I would have loved to have had. I think he's 7 of 7 or 7 of 8 right now and 3 touchdowns during his career. He's a great thrower as a punter and a holder. And so they're not only trying it, they're really good at it.
Yeah. We got a couple of questions on Facebook Live brought to you by Meldon Law. They were basically regarding 2 questions. Is the South Carolina fan base upset this game is not at night? And how do they think of Coach Spurrier up there in the Columbia area?
Good questions. We love a night game, but 3:30 daytime kick in October is pretty nice. Supposed to be 81 degrees, chance of rain. We get fired up, but 3:30 is late enough. I think that crowd will be ready to roll. Another sellout at Williams-Brice Stadium. Night games are pretty special. They are all over the league. We all know that, but I think they'll be ready. The crowd won't be a factor. Fast starts now have become such a big part of the college game. If you can get going early, these kids seem to gain even more and more confidence in what they do. They overcome adversity better. And so stopping the run game and a fast start at Williams-Brice, even at 3:30, should be okay. And listen, Coach Spurrier is still highly respected. Actually going to have some dinner with him tomorrow night. Of course, he's coming up for the game and is going to stop by after Coach Beamer's call-in show. I'll be able to see the HBC, and he's special. He still has that swagger, as we all know. And he took us to a place we had never been, and frankly have not been there since, and winning 33 games in 3 years in an Eastern Division title. and so, everything didn't end great, but heck, when does it end great for a college coach in most circumstances? But we still love the HBC and respect him every time he comes up here, even when he's got a little Gator blue on.
Yeah, there's nobody like him for sure. Todd, we appreciate your time, my man. We'll see you up in the press box Saturday afternoon.
Look forward to it as always. It's always a great matchup. Thanks, Shane.
Yeah, that's Todd Ellis, the great quarterback for the Gamecocks and the voice of the South Carolina Gamecocks. Join us on the Titan Tomorrow Hotline. Let's get to This Day in Sports, which is brought to you by our good friends at Campus USA Credit Union. Put some star power to work in your financial life with Campus USA Credit Union. This Day in Sports, back in 1991, Chip Beck ties the PGA record for the lowest 18-hole score of 59 during his third round at the Las Vegas Invitational. Chip Beck shooting 59 in 1991. That's This Day in Sports, brought to you by Campus USA Credit Union. Look, we've had a million texts today. Text, Facebook Lives, YouTubes, all that stuff. I'm not sitting here saying get rid of Billy Napier at all. I like Billy Napier. I think he's really good in the run game, scheming up. As a quarterback, I just want to see us throw it more. And again, you just heard what Todd Ellis just stated. That Steve Spurrier took their program somewhere it's never been, and they haven't been there since. That was my point I was trying to make to JC. Certain coaches have that it factor, and that's they just win. Not saying Billy's not, but people got to remember, as much as I want to throw the football, everybody else does too. That's not what his philosophy is. And all we got to do is just change it just a tad, or we throw it 6 or 7 times just to get it down the field a little. Andy says, Shane, if Bubba Spurrier gets a head coaching gig, do you think the HBC will be involved in this program in some way? No, I don't think so. He'll probably come speak to the team. He'll show up for games and that. But no, Coach Spurrier knows how it is. People, when they're in charge of their program, they're going to do it their way. Now, obviously, Bubba was around coach for all those years. He's probably going to do it his way. He'll have a lot of coach. If he gets to be a head coach, he will probably run coach's offense with a little bit of Mike Leach stuff built in there as well. Dan says, QB, do you ever get to golf in Vegas? I've only been to Vegas twice, one for work, one for the bowl game. I did play at our bowl game this past year out there. It was fun. It was freezing, though. I had to go get more clothes from the equipment staff so I could play. Jim says, Anna, as Shane has said, 125 years of football, 2 elite coaches, 25 years of great football. Billy is doing it the right way. Have patience. Yeah, so, we'll see. We'll see, but it's a big game. It's a big game for South Carolina this weekend, and definitely for the Gators as well. Ruse Ogre State Farm offers a team of dedicated insurance professionals ready to help life go right with the right insurance options for you and your family. Visitogreinsurance.com. Give them a call at 352-240-1779. J&J Trucking again, brought to you by Quality Plumbing, says, I don't think he has the ego like Mullen and will make adjustments. Billy's smart, man. I like Billy a lot. I love his demeanor. I know people want him to show emotion. A lot of coaches don't show emotion. I don't know why people think that needs to happen. But Natasha says the game this weekend should be the HBC Bowl. Yeah, well, Coach Spurrier, he and I did a podcast yesterday. He roots for South Carolina only when they're not playing the Gators. So he is the ambassador for the University of Florida. He is a Gator, went to school here, and is pulling for the Gators. Chris says, Shane, the film shows that guys are getting open deep. It says but Chris, I don't know what film you're watching. Again, maybe after the ball is thrown, then guys come open. That happens all the time. But again, you don't know what's being taught. You don't know when 300-pounders are breathing down your throat. You don't have time sometimes to get a ball off. Again, there's nothing worse than people sitting behind a clicker saying what should have happened when they've never done it in their entire life. I had a coach in the NFL that did that. And I said, have you ever sat in a pocket with 300-pounders breathing down your throat, making a decision to throw the ball accurately in less than 2 seconds? He said, no. I said, well, I couldn't see, or whatever. That's why Steve Spurrier was great to play for, because he's like, why didn't you throw that? Well, coach, I couldn't see. I couldn't see where the safety was. Okay, move on to the next play. Anybody in the world can be a coach and second guess stuff behind the clicker. So, as I said, I don't know a whole lot about football, anything other than playing quarterback. And I think our quarterback has been A++ the way he has played. He's extremely tough, mentally and physically. He's a tremendous leader. This team believes in him. And he's going to hit some deep balls. I believe in that when they're called. So there you have it. I hope you enjoyed today's program. Again, I want to thank JC and Todd Ellis for joining us on the Titan Emerald Hotline. And we'll be here same place, same time tomorrow. Have a great day, folks. Take care.